In mid-December of 2022, Ilya Petrov, known online as Something, was preparing to lace up his proverbial shoes and start his run through Valorant's Challengers Division qualifier. He was a relative unknown, a player that was known for dominating ranked games, and that's mostly it. A third-tier professional player slaving away to no avail in Valorant's semi-pro circuit. In mid-December of 2022, Max Mazanov, known online as Demon1, was preparing to lace up his proverbial shoes and start his run through Valorant's Challengers Division qualifier. He was a relative unknown, a player that was known for dominating ranked games, and that's mostly it. A third-tier professional player slaving away to no avail in Valorant's semi-pro circuit. And then God said, "Let there be light." Alright, let's take it from the top. To call Something and Demon1 third-tier players isn't really doing them justice, but to follow their stories, we need to go to opposite sides of the globe. Ilya Something Petrov is a Russian Valorant player, although one with a unique and arguably unfortunate circumstance. Russia is a big country that boasts a handful of Valorant and CSGO all-stars, but Something is East Russian. He is half the globe away from the servers his Russian counterparts play on, which pushes him to compete in the Japanese Valorant circuit. Throughout 2022, Something played for Japanese Sengoku Gaming, a mid-low table team in the Japanese Challengers circuit. Notably, Japan is widely known as a B-tier region for Valorant, usually boasting a maximum of one internationally competitive roster, if even that. Something would continuously put up monster numbers on Duelist, but his team, simply put, was not good. Not including open qualifiers against inferior competition, in his 35 maps as a member of Sengoku Gaming, Something would average 22.17 kills. Average. And yet, his team would peak with just a 4th place finish in the 2023 Challengers first split, where Something would show that he simply did not belong in the Japanese Challengers circuit. For reference, here is every player of the 8 teams in Japan's VCT Challengers League, Split 1, rated by Valorant's primary statistic, ACS. ACS, or Average Combat Score, throws in kills, assists, damage, multi-kills, and some pixie dust to determine a player's true impact to a game and a team. Think of stats like American football's quarterback or passer ratings. And here is Something. He went nuclear in this event, boasting an ACS of over 300 and knocking off IGZist in the first round of playoffs to the tune of an astonishing 120 kills in 4 maps. For those of you keeping track at home, that is an average of 30. To that point, the most kills ever in a best-of-5 series. That record would last, of course, an entire one day, where Something would then go out and break his own record by dropping 136 kills against Fennel. A match, by the way, that Sengoku lost. Something had proven he was ready for his shot at Valorant's Champions League, but he would find himself yet waiting for his opportunity. Max Demon1 Mazanov was a kid from Brooklyn, New York. After making a name for himself as a ranked player, he would play in an array of B and C tier tournaments with his team SQN, Sequin, Saquon, 2.0, which would culminate in the squad playing in an off-season tournament against 15 other tier 2 and 3 squads looking to get some reps in before the 2023 Challengers season started. The team would manage to place 3rd behind only 2 of the higher perceived contenders in Tier 2 at the time, and Shopify Rebellion and Dark Ratio, which would end up becoming Mad Lions. In this event, Demon1 would rank 4th in ACS and second in ACS among players to play at least 10 maps with 256. Not exactly the world-beating numbers Something put up in Japan, but done against arguably tougher competition, it isn't worth nothing. Playing on no-name teams, our stars managed to play just good enough in the 11th hour to find themselves teams in Valorant's franchised league, the Valorant Champions Tour. Teams void of hype and desperate need of some kind of spark plug. Enter Paper Rex and Evil Geniuses. When Riot Games, Valorant's developer, were choosing partner teams to represent Valorant for the foreseeable future with their new league, Paper Rex and Evil Geniuses were about two of the last teams expected to make it through. In Paper Rex's case, they had been competitive, being a relatively unknown team before 2022, yet managing to prove that they were one of the best squads in the Asian Pacific region. But the organization behind them was basically non-existent. People were sure the players, or at least most of them, would be picked up for the 2023 season, but the org itself, a complete long shot. They had been founded a mere 2 years ago and were a widely unknown organization from Singapore. They really hadn't done anything to prove that they could stand next to the organizations that had already proven themselves to be long-standing in the esports scene within other popular games. Teams like T1, DRX, and so on. In Evil Genius's case, they were an organization with extreme experience and organizational stability, but had, and I mean this with very little hyperbole here, 4-ish total fans. The shortcomings weren't financial, they were in marketing. They also hadn't been, good. Sure, in 2022 they had managed to compete with North America's finest to the tune of a 5th, 6th place finish in the North American circuit, but that really isn't anything of note to call home about in the grand scheme of things here. Yet, they both got the call. Of the 30 teams to compete for the 2023 Valorant World Championship, these would be 2 of them. And while the teams around them got to making roster changes to build a truly championship contending roster, these 2 teams didn't. In Paper Rex's case, the team had just finished up a 2022 campaign that featured a 4th and 2nd place finish in the 2 majors leading up to the championship event. World-class performances proving they were amongst the elite, before failing to make it out of the group stage at Champions. No matter though, no reason to make knee-jerk changes after one bad tournament. Problem being, the team had a very unique playstyle. Where other teams play slow, they read their opponent and wait, Paper Rex go. They push you, they swing. They play a style that has them taking continuous risks and swinging wide, hitting so hard that they don't give the opponent a chance to swing back. This, of course, wasn't the issue. The team was so unique that there was no other team like them, and they were therefore almost impossible to prepare for. This is the exact advantage that they took advantage of in the Reykjavik and Copenhagen Masters events. But as the year went on, teams started figuring out how to play against Paper Rex. Their players were phenomenal, no doubt, but the secret was out. Making no changes to their roster, not even adding as much as a notable bench player to really try to shake things up, seemed like a massive oversight by many. As teams in the Pacific region loaded up to make a run for the Pacific Championship, the old Paper Rex squad everybody had known about for ages felt like an open and shut case. They were good enough to beat teams mechanically worse than them, but against the upper echelon teams, would they struggle? Evil Geniuses went into the offseason headstrong with the 5 players that had rounded out their 2022 campaign with, a season that ended with a loss-loss exit in the North American Last Chance qualifier. In Paper X's case, the Pacific Division had a ton of question marks, leading people to believe regardless of how little they improved, they could still make a run at the playoffs, maybe still make the first Masters event of 2023. But America's was loaded. Top to bottom, you had as follows. The reigning world champion Loud, a Brazilian squad who, granted, had lost 2 of their 3 players, which are definitely very notable, but had handpicked some of the best young talent in Brazil to replace them. NRG, who, after their underwhelming 2022 campaign, which notably including them ending EG's season in LCQ, went and picked up 3 of the 5 star players from the only other team that was able to hold a candle to Loud all year in Optic Gaming, which did not make the franchising league. On top of adding the core of Victor, Crashies, and the widely considered best IGL in America and FNS, they had snagged another world champion in Artis from Masters 2 Copenhagen's winning FPX squad. 100 Thieves had rounded out their season hot, using mostly homegrown talent to run through and win the North American Last Chance qualifier before bowing out in the group stage at Champions, putting up a very, very solid fight in a very difficult group against the always top-level DRX and Fnatic. For them, not making any major moves made sense, which was only backed up by their performance at an off-season tournament, Red Bull Homegrounds, where they obliterated a field that included 6 other franchise teams, some of which had built up acclaimed super teams, including Cloud9, who had fallen continuously short in the previous year, was committed to not let it happen again. So, they bolstered their lineup of all-stars Leaf, Zeppa, and IGL Vanity, with Vanity's former teammate Zelsis, a brewing all-star himself, and the 2022 Esports Athlete of the Year, Yay. The unanimous best player in all of Valorant. The fan favorite Sentinels, long removed from their days at the top, built up a new roster that included those 2 members of the World Champions Loud that left, and 2 members of North America's second best team from the previous year, XSET. The final player, former best player in the world and most popular player in the world, TenZ. Star-studded. Leviathan had been consistently the best team in Latin America and had consistently been a playoff squad in 2022 before snagging up stars from rival Crew in Mazzino and Kesnet. For all intents and purposes, this team was the poster child for consistency and fundamentals. The best team in the world, if scrimmages were to be believed. Crew Esports entered 2023 as the only team to have attended every single international major since the game's inception. Their revamped roster hadn't sparked the same excitement as before, but Crew were deservedly so respected by all. Furia was undoubtedly in Loud's shadow as Brazil's second best team, and there was previously a Canyon there, but some additions later, there was hype around Furia improving and stepping up as a true competitor to Loud in Brazil, especially with Loud's losses. And MIBR. It's undeniable, this league is loaded. Every team is vying to win, and MIBR is here too. Evil Geniuses are going to need to make any sort of roster moves to make them competitive. And finally, they do. BCJ, the only unemployed piece from the runner-up squad in North America in XSET, and self-proclaimed best initiator in the world, and very solid, very experienced Ethan, who somehow found himself also unemployed and unwanted by the rest of the Americas League. So, solid pieces and all, but no real world beaters. These other teams have world beaters, but EG aren't dropping players to make space, they're just compiling talent. And dear viewer, you might think, oh well, they're spoiled with choice, it can't hurt to add additional players, but in esports, this can prove to be a fatal mistake. Having people lined up to replace any underperforming player places immense stress and injects a sense of fear into players that can legitimately change how they play. Players scared to mess up are going to play in a much less effective way, and confidence in your guys in esports is infinitely more important than it leads on to be. Then the rumors start coming in. Evil Geniuses wants to build a 10-man roster, the league maximum. Everyone on this team is suddenly replaceable. Now, we can't act like there are no plus sides to this strategy. Being able to run scrims internally is potentially a large advantage. You have the opportunity to test strategies without anyone finding out about them. Other teams need to try and practice these strategies against other teams. Evil Geniuses could do all of that behind closed doors. If a player isn't working, they also have ample replacement. This league isn't like other sports leagues. There's a roster lock period after the first big event of the year. If a team is floundering after the roster lock, they can't make real changes, a problem we will see many teams worldwide encounter this year. This, of course, is a double-edged sword for the problems we mentioned earlier, but regardless, the full roster strategy is one that few try, and even less find success with. Surely, Evil Geniuses will learn their lessons soon enough. But for now, let's meet the full squad of 10 they've assembled. You've met BCJ and Ethan, the 2 players expected to be this roster's spark, Now meet the rest. Apoth, controller. Not the flashiest player, but a consistent player and member of the squad since the beginning of this iteration of Evil Geniuses. Reformed, Flex. Another not super flashy player that has been a part of EG for a very long time, one of the core members of the old Evil Geniuses. Jogamo, Flex, and Raise Specialist. Jogamo could be considered old EG's star, a player known to be unafraid and willing to take fights when needed. A solid piece most teams would be stoked to have. Calm, Sentinel. Another relatively unexciting player known for his consistency. Are we seeing a theme here so far? A pretty thankless player, favorite of few. Underrated is the word. Boostio, Flex. The team's IGL and passionate leader. Another underrated player, just a guy that not many people had stock in. But this dude is a grinder. He may not have the star power some of the other guys have, but where he doesn't have that, he makes up for it in spirit. Screwface, Initiator. Now we get to some of the talent development pickups, or at least what appears to be the case from the outset. Screwface is known as a raw player that is viewed pretty highly in the community. He's been grinding it out in mid-table Tier 2 and Tier 3 teams before his acquisition by EG, so he could IGL the reserve team, which, by the way, doesn't actually play in any official matches ever. Icy, Flex. Another relative unknown. Icy had been pounding in random qualifiers and events in Tier 3, sort of akin to Screwface, and then he got an offer to ride the bench for Evil Geniuses. Hey, I'd take the chance. And finally, well, hey. Yes, on January 19, less than a month before the season's opening event in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Demon1 is acquired by Evil Geniuses. But just because he's acquired doesn't mean he'll play. This team has been practicing with Ethan, BCJ, Jogamo, Com, and Boostio as its roster for months at this point. And going into the season, that's the plan. Now, we looked at EG's roster, so let's turn around and peek at what Paper X has at this point. Here's the squad. Forsaken, Flex. An elite player in his own right, Forsaken's successes came, like the rest of Paper X, by being an extremely aggressive, no-fear player that was also incredibly flexible. Forsaken was also the tip of Paper X's spear. Well, more like the shaft of the spear, I guess. Maybe the bottom of the actually sharp part or something. The real tip of the spear was Jing, Duelist. Widely considered at times to have been a top 3 player in the world. Jing's mechanics, with his aim and his fearlessness, made him a consistent, unavoidable threat. A pain in the ass to play against. Mind Freak, Controller. A thankless member of the squad. Although there was a point that most considered Mind Freak potentially the best controller in the world, that sentiment has mostly faded. Yet, he remains one of the most clutch players on the entire circuit. Devi, Initiator. Arguably the least mentioned player on the team, but mostly responsible for enabling the aggressive members of the squad. Benkai, Flex. The vocal leader of the team and IGL. Fun-loving guy and really the epitome of what this team represents. Fun Valorant. That's what this is at the end of the day, a game. It's important to have fun, and this team does. And finally, brought in to be the 6th man. Oh yeah. Cigarettes, or CGRS. What? You thought this was something? Nah, he's grinding it out in Japanese challengers right now, but I hope a team picks him up soon. But, Cigarettes is a Thai streamer that can definitely play the game at a high level, and don't get me wrong here, however was definitely at least partially brought on because of the publicity and all of that. The 2023 Valorant Champions Tour is set to open up with a crazy 32-team best-of-3 single elimination tournament that features every single team in Valorant's brand spanking new franchising system. Lose and go home. And here's the bracket. Well, would you look at that? Look at our two teams all snug right next to each other here. They won't play each other until top 8 should they make it there, but I mean, shoot, it's still cute to see them right next to each other like this. The universe has a funny way of working these things out, no? Paper X draws the aforementioned Cloud9, who are chomping at the bit to take this new roster for a spin. This is a good litmus test for Paper X, who again have made no changes since last season. It's old blood versus new. Fight. Alright, so map 1 went pretty poorly here, but Map 2 will get better, I'm sure, and never mind. In one series, against one team, Paper Rex are sent home. So the worries around this team were warranted, but, I mean, come on here. This is the new Cloud9. It isn't for nothing. Nobody is going to blame Paper Rex for falling to the world's next super team. Wait, what's that? Cloud9 would immediately lose their next match and blow up their roster? Wait, what? What the fuck? That's a different story for a different day, but it was ultimately deemed that C9 wasn't playing up to the pay grade that they were making, which was a lot of money. So, Paper Rex marks the one and only victor of the entire VCT Yay era. Kind of insane, and kind of also a not so good look for Paper Rex. Their errors in the past, and they're just scrambling to hold on to it. Evil Geniuses draws a much easier team in Team Heretics, a seemingly directionless squad pieced together to compete in the European League. Let's play ball. Evil Geniuses wins their inaugural match as a VCT member and gets another lucky break by drawing Upstart Talent Esports in the second round, the team that would go on to finish 9th in the Pacific League, arguably a bottom 3 team in the entire 3 leagues. Is an extremely underhyped Evil Geniuses squad really about to sleepwalk into the top 8? No, they're not. Evil Geniuses is going home. Prepared to begin their run in the Americas League, they haven't left their mark. Still, no one cares about them. These two squads were either falling from grace or had never seen grace's light. The talk began leading up to domestic play.
Is EG going to be the worst team in the Americas League? But in an actual sense, what are they doing in the off season? Like what are they?
I feel like to what you're saying, Bala, they've really here in a champion's been they're like a glass cannon approach has been really exposed at this point, and it is just not a consistent long-term solution for this team. And frankly, I do feel like at this point they need to make changes. I don't know enough about
Paper Rex heard the demands. They did need an acquisition. Something that they could throw in if they kept sliding. Something that could satiate their fan base's expectations for the squad. Something to revive the Paper Rex of old. Something. They needed something. So, they got him. No complete roster overhaul, just one addition. If things continued to falter for Paper Rex, they had some potential gasoline to get their fire going, but even if something was the truth, they were still committing to play the old Paper Rex style. It was tired at this point, teams were finding ways to counter it, and it was no longer just a team with peak mechanical players that was beating Paper Rex. Now, before we get into the actual regular season, let me explain how it works. We just got out of the Sao Paulo season opener event, an event unique to this year as the first season of the Valorant franchise league. The winner of that event, Fnatic, congratulations Fnatic, has given their region, Europe, an additional spot in the upcoming Masters event in Tokyo. Here is the rest of the season's layout. So we go into league play, with every team playing a 9-game schedule against everyone in their domestic league. The 6 of those teams that finish the season with the best record will advance to the league playoffs, and the top 3 playoff finishers, or 4 teams for Europe, shout out Fnatic, will get to represent their domestic leagues in Tokyo, the season's second major. Those 3 teams will then automatically also qualify for the championship event at the end of the year, VCT Champions in Los Angeles. Any team that doesn't qualify for Champions, once Tokyo is over, will get the opportunity to run through a last chance qualifier that will see the worst teams in the league have to go on an essentially impossible run through every other team, whilst the teams closest to qualifying for Champions will have to win much fewer games. That said, it is totally possible for a team to phone it in the entire regular season and not win a single league match and then still make it to the championship event via some miracle run. But that'll never happen. 4 total teams representing a region really is not that much, especially in a stacked top-to-bottom region like the Americas is. That number could get pushed to 5 if a team from your specific region won the Tokyo Major, but only one region is getting that special treatment. So you really kind of need to make playoffs. Unless your goal is to run a gauntlet at the end of the season, there simply isn't room for error. You have 9 games to decide the trajectory of your entire year. It's time to nut up or shut up. These are the 9-game schedules for Paper Rex and Evil Geniuses. Both teams open their schedule against very beatable opponents. Paper Rex draws Detonation Focus Me, a directionless Japanese organization that will end up being the 30th of 30 team in Valorant's professional leagues this year. They won't win a single game the whole season. This game is no different, and Paper X moves to 1-0. Evil Geniuses opens their season against Cloud9, who had essentially blown up their roster, citing team synergy, though it was almost certainly caused by financial instability after offering Ye, again, 2022 most dominant player in all of esports, what I would have to guess is a 7-figure contract. So Cloud9 enters the season with 3 remaining players from the team that they fielded in Sao Paulo, with 2 fresh rookies on the team instead, a tier 3 player in Rooney and a player that was playing in the collegiate circuit in Jake. To all, this is seen as Cloud9 phoning it in and regrouping for the following year. Evil Geniuses, seen still as one of, if not the weakest teams in the Americas League, figures to have the game circled as one of their only potential wins of the season. They lose. 0-2. Not a blowout, but against the inexperience of Cloud9, it's a rough bout. EG is 0-1. Week 2's matchup for Paper Rex is against Team Secret, a middle-of-the-pack squad that has been known to punch above their weight class from time to time. Paper Rex manages to take map 1 13-9 before losing map 2 in a tight 13-11 affair. This is not a team that Paper Rex should be struggling with. They are by no means bad, but for the echelon of team Paper Rex was, the team they should aspire to be, they need to win this game. But this isn't the past, nor is it the future. It's the present. And Paper X falls to Team Secret, pushing them to 1-1. Evil Genius's Week 2 matchup is against 100 Thieves, who are also 0-1 after their nail-biting loss to the star-studded Sentinels team that I'm sure is destined for great things this year. 100 Thieves doesn't play like a 0-1 team, however, and gets out to a swift 13-9 map 1 victory. Having lost 3 consecutive maps and facing a 0-2 start to the season, Evil Genius's coach, Potter, calls in a substitution. BCJ is removed from the lineup, one of their primary off-season additions, mind you, in exchange for Demon1. Max is getting his shot on the stage. 5-13, the worst map score this iteration of this team has played. Woof. Demon1's middling 14 kill, 15 death performance on the most kill forward role is just not good enough to give the team the lift that Potter had hoped for. And Evil Geniuses are 0-2. I haven't mentioned Potter before this point, so it's probably best that I do so now. Christine Chi, tagged Potter, is the head coach of Evil Geniuses. She has been with the team since Evil Geniuses entered Valorant in 2020, originally playing as a player. In 2021, she moved to a coaching role and has since been trying to take this Evil Geniuses squad to the next level. As far as coach tenures in the Americas League go, Potter sits only behind Furia's Carlisle. She has been in power in her organization longer than anyone else. And what she has to show for it is a couple of teams that slightly overperformed expectations in 2022. The shortcomings of this organization are far from within her grasp, but it is undeniable at this point that the leash Evil Geniuses have given her as coach is a longer one. This loss to 100 Thieves puts her all-time record as coach of Evil Geniuses at 31-31. But even that record is not as impressive as it seems. 19 of those 31 wins have come against C-tier competition, and notably 15 of their losses. For those not doing the math at home, Evil Geniuses' record in officially sanctioned Valorant Champions Tour play since Potter has taken over as coach is 12-16. For reference, the only longer tenure in America at this point, the aforementioned Carlisle, holds a record of 41-25 at this point. And Furia's best ever performance at a major was in 2023 at Sao Paulo, where they won their first ever match at a major event, despite appearing in 2021 and 2022's Champions events, just to go 0-2 in both of them. For her sake, and the organization's, this team needs to start winning, and they need to do it soon. Week 3 features Paper Rex against a fresh T1 team with a very experimental roster that will eventually improve, but just isn't quite there yet. Paper Rex decides this is also their time to get experimental, and decides it's time. Ilya Petrov, center stage. Subbing in for Benkai, Something posts an impressive 18-8 kill-to-death ratio and a whopping 304 ACS in a 13-3 bludgeoning of T1 on map 1. He hasn't missed a beat. Funnily enough, though, Something's inaugural VCT Pacific showing is completely outshined by Forsaken's almost unfathomable 422 ACS performance, which will prove to be one of just 10 400-plus ACS maps played this entire year. 565 maps will be played across the 3 leagues this year, with 10 players in each game, making there 5,650 individual maps played. Just 10 of those performances clear the 400 mark, a whopping 0.175 of all performances. Only 3 performances will post a bigger number this year than Forsaken's map today. A light show, to say the least. Something comes back out for map 2, which Paper Rex wins again with very little trouble, and Paper Rex improve to 2-1, and begin to realize just what they might have with Something. EG, meanwhile, find themselves in the toilet bowl against Crew, the only 2 winless teams in Americas. To say the least, the situation is dire. Falling to 0-3 is a death sentence. For both teams, if they're going to beat anybody this year, it's each other. EG knows this and has made a decision. The Demon1 experiment has become permanent. From now on, he will be starting. It doesn't look good for EG. At half on map 1, they're down 3-9. They take the pistol round off the second half, but lose their bonus to make it 5-10. And then, they win. Map 2, EG does the opposite. They get out to a big lead, win pistol, just to lose their bye and slide into a 11-13 loss. We are going to map 3. Through 14 rounds, we're dead even. But Evil Geniuses will not be denied their first VCT Americas win. And they move to 1-2. Week 4 sees Paper Rex matching up against the de facto top dog in Pacific, DRX. Beating them would put Paper Rex at 3-1 in first place in Pacific. But they don't. DRX is head and shoulders above this Paper Rex team. If Paper Rex thought themselves as contenders for this thing, that has just been all but erased. DRX are in a completely different league entirely. Something playing hasn't changed the trajectory of this team at all, and Paper Rex is an unimpressive 2-2. As it stands, they are 6th in Pacific, and if the season ended right now, would get the final playoff slot. Their situation doesn't seem as dire as Evil Geniuses is, but having just one more win than that team in a much worse league is rough. They weren't expected to beat DRX, but they were expected to compete with them, and they might as well have not even been on the same stage. Evil Geniuses, full steam ahead in the Demon1 era, now have to turn around and play a Furia team that is second in Americas, and drawing legitimate attention is the potential best team in the league. And yet, EG puts up a fight. Map 1 breaks Furia's way finally in overtime, but EG faces little resistance in taking Map 2. Beating this team would be huge. No better way to show your competence than by taking the second best team in the league out to the deep and drowning them. Evil Geniuses, however, still don't know how to swim themselves. 13-10 Furia, and EG is 1-3. They need to start winning badly, and their competition is not going to get any easier. Paper Rex's next match is against Global Esports, and should be a freebie by all intents and purposes. They should be sleepwalking into Week 6. And yet, they lose the opening map. Stocks for this team are at their lowest. If they can't beat this global team, who can they beat? It's a question we, thankfully, don't have to ask ourselves. PaperX knocks off Global in 3 maps, and they're back in the win column with a 3-2 record. I don't imagine Loud are at all worried about this game, nor should they be. They sit atop Americas with an undefeated 4-0 record and look primed to take the Americas League title and compete for a championship. Defending world champions don't sully their time with the weak, which EG are. But Sun Tzu said it best. All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when we are able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must appear inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. And when far away, we must make him believe we are near. Loud are caught sleeping. If EG can compete with Loud, they can compete with anybody. All they need to do is finish it out. A 2-3 record is completely surmountable. EG is able to hang with Loud on map 2, but ultimately they fall short. It'll come to map 3, Pearl, one of both of these teams' best maps. It's time, evil geniuses. Show the world what you are made of. Seize the day. If there was ever any doubt as to how far apart these two teams are, this pretty much kills it. 13-0 scorelines do not just happen. They're not only the ultimate indicator of the monumental gap between two teams, but also incredibly rare. Some very good teams will play some very bad teams this season, but across all leagues, last chance qualifiers, majors, this will be the only 13-0 drubbing. There have only been a small handful of cases of a 13-0 victory in notable VCT play. In 2021, Gambit eliminated G2 from Masters Berlin in 13-0 fashion, which resulted in G2 going home and making roster changes for the next year. In 2022, Fnatic beat OG London United 13-0, putting them on an immediate slide that would have them ceasing operations as an org around 2 months later. The Guard knocked off 100 Thieves in 2022's North American Challengers by 13-0ing them on the final map, which would have 100 Thieves blowing up their entire roster the following day. 13-0s are an organization ender, the ultimate shameful mark on a terrible Evil Geniuses season. Their 13-3 map 1 victory might as well have been a year ago, and Evil Geniuses are 1-4. Following the loss, conversations begin to swirl. Potter's job is in jeopardy. The 13-0 may be well on its way to claiming yet another victim. Everyone internally denies these claims, of course. Potter is safe, but the record speaks for itself. This team needs to figure something out, because their season at this point might as well be over. EG's playoff chances at this point sit at a mere 12%, but in reality it feels much less likely than that. Crew, still winless, has at this point been effectively eliminated from playoff contention. One more loss for EG, and they'd likely be joining the only team they've beaten all year. We still have 4 games left, but Evil Geniuses might want to start looking towards the last chance qualifier. We're going to come back to PaperX, but for now let's look at EG's Week 6 matchup. Leviathan is a very solid team. They came top 8 in Sao Paulo and have been steadily in the top 4-ish since the season start. They are a beacon of consistency and stability. And yet, back against the wall, EG manages to take the first map. Naturally, they drop the second and take us to the third. We've seen this story before. Evil Geniuses get our hopes up, just to drop kick them into next week. But for once, EG wins. They are 2-4. Well, shit. Next up is Sentinels, a team in the midst of their own underperforming season, also boasting a 2-4 record. They look towards Evil Geniuses in desperate need of a get-right game. Sentinels have all the necessary talent. All they need to do is smoke this lowly EG team, fresh off of their clearly fluke victory against Leviathan, and they'll be back. This game won't be close, and to Sentinels' credit, it won't be close. Sentinels take just 10 rounds across 2 maps, and Evil Geniuses are suddenly 3 and 4. Evil Geniuses, somehow, someway, just 2 games removed from a drubbing at the hands of Loud, are firmly in the playoff hunt. In fact, their playoff odds in just 2 games have shifted from 12 to 84%. Their season is somehow not over. And to make matters better for Evil Geniuses, their next opponent is lowly MIBR, who are now playing an assistant coach after their season slide into the gutter has caused Heat, previously star player, to leave the team. This MIBR team is effectively a corpse, and Evil Geniuses dispose of them as such, featuring a monster game by Demon1, whose 381 ACS at map 1 is just one of 56 performances all year clear of 350 ACS, the top 1% of all maps played by anyone this year. 3 weeks ago, this would have been unheard of. EG is 4 and 4 and firmly in control of their own destiny. If they can beat NRG in their final game of the season, they'll be playoff bound. Still though, they do need to win this game. It is a dogfight for the final couple playoff slots, with 100 Thieves, Furia, Leviathan, EG, and Sentinels all vying for that final spot. NRG has already secured their slot and seed, and essentially have nothing to play for. So I ask you, who wins? Team brought back from the dead and suddenly one of the hottest teams in the world, or team who could not even show up and the result would be the same? No. We were so close. There's no way this story ends here. Is there? Evil Geniuses brought their season back from death's doorstep just to bite it at the finish line. Their entire season is now put in the hands of... oh god, not them. After Evil Geniuses lost to NRG, the only scenario that would put EG into the playoffs as the 6th and final seed is an MIBR victory over 100 Thieves. The same MIBR playing with a coach that EG disposed of with little resistance just last week, allowing just 7 rounds to be taken over 2 maps. The MIBR completely eliminated from the playoffs, with nothing to gain, nothing to play for. It has been a month since this team has seen the win column. 100 Thieves, underperforming expectations as they may be, are going to get into the playoffs with a 4 seed after a win today, and will come into the playoffs off a 2-game winning streak, hot and ready to make a run at making it to Tokyo, getting their season back on track. Boostio says it best. All you can do is pray. It's in God's hands now. Evil Geniuses just need one more chance at redemption, for now to the rest of eternity. And Christ the Redeemer was made in Brazil. Final round of regulation, Xozin, assistant coach promoted to player in a moment of organizational desperation, sends a literal knife through the heart of 100 Thieves. At 1 and 4, having just put up a 0 and 13 dud, Evil Geniuses were dead. Going into this match, every player assumed as such. Their season was over. Until it wasn't. Your Evil Geniuses are going to the Americas playoffs. With EG's playoff berth somehow secured, let's check back in with Paper Rex. Ah yes, 3 and 2, with a really bad talent team ahead. The same talent team that eliminated EG from lock-in. I swear I'm seeing double here. We did this last week already. Whatever, Talon wins one map, and then off the back of a something 346 ACS performance in map 2, take the second and eventually third maps to push them to 4-2. Still, what is it with this team? Why can't they just put away inferior competition? The Something Show is full steam ahead, and yet they are just not dominating teams like they should be. With 3 weeks to play, they sit at third in the league, but 4 teams are 4-2. And the thing is, PaperX still need to play 2 of them. The only teams they've beaten this year either are or were just plain bad. Their playoff dreams are far from guaranteed. Down the stretch of the season, they're going to need to be much, much better than the PaperX that started the season. The one that lost to Team Secret and DRX. They need to become a better PaperX. So, they do. Somehow, someway, Evil Geniuses and PaperX are both going to the playoffs, with PaperX as the 2nd seed and EG as the final 6th seed. These 2 teams, lifeless as they looked at times, will compete for the right to go to Masters Tokyo and the championship at the end of the year, as the top 3 teams in each playoff will auto-qualify for both. For PaperX, considering their recent performance, their spot at Tokyo is almost assured. If they win their first game, their spot is already secured. The real prize in all of this is winning the damn thing. That first place spot not only cements its winner as the champion of its respective league, but also guarantees a trip straight to the playoff stage at Masters Tokyo. You would get to skip the group stage. But the gatekeepers of Pacific, DRX, are right there. You have to beat them. T1 is PaperX's opponent, playing for a spot in Tokyo, and PaperX wins. Credit to T1, they have gotten much better since the Week 3 matchup, but so has PaperX. So now, with a trip to Tokyo to compete for Valorant's 2nd major of the year booked, PaperX has one remaining mission: win this thing. But DRX is kinda PaperX's boogeyman at this point. Before this match in the upper bracket finals takes place, DRX and PaperX have gone head-to-head 4 times in their history, with give or take a player at the exact same rosters they have now. And in those 4 times, DRX has swept PaperX, a perfect 4-0. Where PaperX is quick, confident, and stylish, DRX is slow, controlled, and analytical. Everything that PaperX isn't. If Loud is the bastion of Americas and Fnatic of Europe, then DRX is that for Pacific. So with all of that in mind, I regret to inform all of you that this match ends in a swift 2-0. In favor of PaperX. PaperX dominates. It isn't close. 13-5 and 13-6. Weeks ago, this team's playoff hopes were in jeopardy. Now they suddenly find themselves atop the world. There is but one match sitting in between them and hoisting the trophy as the Pacific League's champion. It's DRX again. Barely squeaking by T1, DRX gets their chance at redemption. The last match, a fluke. DRX let one get by them, and it's not going to happen again. The first map, Fracture, picked by PaperX, is taken dominantly by DRX. Map 2 is a barn burner. Buzz leaves his heart on the field, getting 36 kills and posting a 330 ACS map in a triple overtime banger, including this insane ace to push them into a lead which they would not get back up. DRX goes 2-0 despite a 30 kill game by Something. For most games, that would be it. But in the grand final and lower bracket finals, we are treated to best of 5 action. So, one more map and one more chance. And they take it. DRX won 16 rounds in their map 2 win. In the next 3, they won 17. Something posts 95 kills across 3 maps, officially cementing himself as that dude. Over the entire season, Something's stats in Pacific prove why he was picked up, as he leads the league in rating, kill-death ratio, kill-assist percentage, and kills per round, while being top 5 in ACS, damage per round, and clutch percentage. Dog. And PaperX are champions of the Pacific. In the Americas League, Evil Geniuses faces a much steeper climb than PaperX did. They face the NRG team that should have eliminated them from the playoffs, and if they somehow manage to win that game, they'll get Cloud9, who ended up being arguably the best team in the entire league this year, regardless of their roster fallout at the start. Since dropping a match to Loud in Week 2, they are on a 7-game winning streak. The only team with a longer one at this point is Juggernaut and the clear best team in the world in Fnatic. They do only need to come top 3, but that still means that at some point they're going to have to beat one of NRG, Cloud9, or Loud, 3 teams that walloped them in the regular season. In fact, the only team in these playoffs that they have beaten is Leviathan. The EG run to somehow make the playoffs was a feel-good story, but really, they haven't done much to prove that they even belong in the playoffs, let alone Tokyo. Or at least, they haven't proven it yet. The thing is, though, they had already accepted their season was in the books. They're just happy to be here. There is no pressure whatsoever. And as James Baldwin once said, the most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. Map 1 is close. EG find themselves down, and yet is able to claw back into the match just enough to lose on the final round of regulation in back-breaking fashion at the hands of a Victor 4K. Map 2 is again so close. EG find themselves with an opportunity to end the game in regulation just as the previous map did against them, but Boostio comes 1 kill short of doing so. Overtime is a set of continuous traded punches, one after the other. And it seems inevitable that the second overtime will soon become the third, as Boostio and Demon1 find themselves completely surrounded in a 2v4, needing a miracle. Here, just watch.
With stars at least, the Rico! Oh my god! Shot by Demon1!
This dude is unreal, man. The timing in between when the smoke fades and when he picks up the second kill of the 2 is under a second, keeping in mind that he needed to adjust his crosshair onto both of them. This NRG team is made up of major winners, but what's a mortal to a demon? EG take map 3 handily. Demon1 goes plus 29 in KD in the series, one where the next closest KD mark is plus 5 from Crashies and Boostio. This team, these evil geniuses, are 1 game away from qualifying for Tokyo, for champions. There is just one giant looming large, Cloud9. This game will not be easy. EG, at this point months ago, opened up their season against this very Cloud9 team and was beaten. While yes, EG has continuously had to prove that they were worthy to be on the same stage as these teams, they are going to have to do it again. Unfortunately, the game will be easy. It wasn't close. Cloud9 would allow just 7 rounds over 2 games, winning 13-5 and 13-2. Oh, wait, sorry, that's not right. EG won 13-5 and 13-2. Cloud9 scored just 7 rounds. A stunner. Every play EG made took every bit of air out of C9's sails, and EG were able to moonwalk to a ticket to Tokyo. You know who I would hate to be right now? This guy. Sorry, George. Evil geniuses are on the top of the world right now. They are somehow going to Tokyo, and yet their run is not over in these playoffs. They can still compete for the same bye that PaperX already has. They just have to go through Loud to get it. The Loud that sent them 1-4 with a 13-0 map victory. EG have proved time and time again that they're better than people think, and now the prevailing thought is that, yeah, they're good, but they just aren't on the international contender level that Loud is. And when it comes time to prove the doubters wrong once again, the doubters finally get one to go their way. EG had been kicking their doubters' ass, but a 13-3 victory on map 3 by Loud proves it. They are simply in a different league than Evil Geniuses. Sure, yes, Evil Geniuses has been able to take a map in each contest, but Loud in crunch time has continuously proven that they are simply better. In the losers bracket, EG is then knocked off by NRG, who after immediately being knocked to losers by EG, has managed to run all the way through to punch their ticket to Tokyo and beyond. EG is still going to Tokyo. They'll be the Americas League's 3rd and final seed, but off of 2 not particularly close losses, they kind of go in limping. They'll need to make it through the group stage, which Loud claims the ability to avoid in the grand finals with ease, and Evil Genius doubters are back. Suddenly, you have ample ammunition, and you know what? I'll give you some more because I'm just that nice of a guy. As EG travels to Tokyo, Demon1 can't. When the leagues were announced, every team was required to submit a roster extremely early so that Riot could get everyone up to date with travel visas, and a lot of the later additions to rosters simply do not have their visas to compete in foreign countries. It's a shame too. Demon1 rounded out his season in Americas with top 10 stats across the board, and notably a tougher league than Something. He would have been fantastic in Tokyo. Hey though, speaking of later additions not being able to come to Tokyo, I feel like there's another player I'm forgetting here that was also picked up later than normal. It's Something. He can't go either. For those wondering, this problem is completely isolated to these two players. It isn't widespread. Despite playing in Japanese challengers mere months ago, Something's visa will not permit him to travel to Tokyo for our Masters event. Paper Rex and Evil Geniuses will have to get through this event without the fire that got them there, a devastating turn for these two clubs. Fortunately, because both teams started their seasons with other rosters, they do at least have some practice under their belt with their former players, because at one point they were starters. There is synergy already there. Funnily enough though, even though Benkai and BCJ are the obvious choices to replace the two stars, neither will. Evil Geniuses reportedly in the lead up to Tokyo are playing with Apoth as their fifth. Well, apparently they're throwing right into Demon1's role, even though he plays a completely different role in controller, and even though they literally have a backup duelist in Screwface on the roster. Hell, Jogamo can play duelist just fine. They legit could just throw BCJ in there. Alright, they're the professional esports organization, and I'm just some dude. I'll let them cook here. Paper Rex, meanwhile, have Benkai, the guy that they finished top 4 in both 2021 Masters events with, and yet they are deciding to go with Cigarettes, the streamer guy that knows how to play one character. Okay, sorry Cigarettes, that's a little bit disingenuous. He does play other characters too, he just really likes Gecko. And Gecko, the character he really likes, is universally considered to be not that good. Here, let me show you something. 62 maps are going to be played at Masters Tokyo. Now consider that each team has the option to pick Gecko at least once, so 124 team compositions run, each with 5 characters. Out of those 124 compositions, 9 of them will feature Gecko, a pick rate of 9%. There are 21 agents, and Gecko will post the 16th highest pick rate of them all. But that number will end up being mostly because of Cigarettes, because out of the 9 total maps Gecko will be played in, he will be responsible for 7 of them. The other 11 teams at this event will combine to play Gecko twice. So here we are, in Tokyo. God, it feels so mellow not having 2 of the main characters of this story here, a sentiment shared by both teams. They're missing their heart. Back when EG beat Cloud9 to make it here, while the entire team celebrated their achievement, look at Demon1. He knew he couldn't make it. He knew he wasn't going to come. He knew he would not taste the fruits of an achievement that he shared. As we enter the group stage, EG is going to have to take on this monster with a sizable chunk of their identity missing. Still, they'll try their best. Their first game is against Footballist, a Turkish org from the European League. Map 1, they pound. Map 2 is an incredibly tight affair, but Boostio goes nuclear, clutching again and again and again, posting an ACS of 382, which will be the highest mark of any EG player on any single map this entire year. As we look up and down the leaderboard, you can see it took an all-around effort, but EG is going to the next round. Wait a damn second. Demon1 is here. But he had the visa and... Yeah, well, they got it resolved. Here in the nick of time, Demon1 will be playing in this tournament. EG has new life. Hell yeah, right? Maybe this actually means that we could get something still too. And you know what, guys? I wouldn't want to spoil anything, but let's just say that, he's not playing today. Sorry. This isn't a new problem for Valorant. For Master Tokyo's case, 19 different nations are represented. Likely, one player will get caught up with visa issues and not be able to travel. And as unfortunate as it is, playing with a temporary sub is a death sentence for teams. In Masters 2 Copenhagen from the previous year, FPX was caught unable to play with the budding all-star Sugetsu because of a visa dispute. With a sub, they managed to limp out of the group stage just to get blasted by Fnatic in their first round of play, knocking them into the lower bracket immediately. Then, Sugetsu showed up, fashionably late, and FPX managed to win the tournament. It's really unfortunate for Paper X, but they just gotta play the long con here. They'll go to LA for the championship with something and compete there. They may not have a shot at Tokyo, but maybe they can win a game. Prove how good they are even with a sub. It's a long shot, but it's all they got. EG draws DRX in round 2 of groups, playing for the opportunity to go to playoffs, right here and right now. And you gotta start to think that Paper X took DRX's soul behind the woodshed because this team is just not what it was in the regular season. Evil Geniuses, on the other hand, are still hot. 2-0, and in convincing fashion, Evil Geniuses are going to the playoffs. Here we find the bracket. Somehow, PRX and EG both draw their domestic boogeymen. Or I guess in Paper X's case, what used to be theirs, Paper X, without something, are going to find themselves with their hands full. This DRX squad has been playing together since before they were DRX, once Vision Strikers, which dates back all the way to early 2021. Hell, 3 of them have been playing together since the Valorant Pro scene began in the summer of 2020. Yes, Paper X has had their number lately, but who wins? The most experienced one team in all of Valorant, or a team with fuck it we ball energy and a Gecko one-trick streamer? I think it's fair to say, with this win, that Paper X has already exceeded expectations at this tournament. They are playing with house money. And so are Evil Geniuses. Remember all that about having nothing to lose? EG don't. They thought they were out of the playoffs and had made peace with that. Then they made it. Then they made Tokyo, but didn't have their number 1 guy. And now they do. There was no pressure, no expectations. And now, they face Loud. When EG has begun to have hope, it has always been Loud to put them back in their place. But EG has had enough bullying from their America's counterpart. We are 2 results, just 1 round of play of games going in our favor from having the most unlikely upper bracket finals of all time. Now, is it going to be easy to achieve this? No. It's, in fact, not really likely at all. Paper X's opponent is Fnatic. I've already talked about them plenty at this point, but they're a dynasty in the making here. This team has lost 1 game all year. They've been mostly unbeatable. The only team that's managed to beat them was Liquid, who EG is playing. And in this game, Paper X looks like a team playing with a sub. And this happens. With a 13-0 loss looming, Paper X managed to save face and just lose the map in 13-5 fashion as opposed to 13-0. Sadly, map 2 does not go much better. But you can't really blame these guys. Look, they beat DRX. You say, cool, go play the team that mollywopped everyone at Lock-In except for Loud, who they still beat, and then sleepwalked through the European League schedule to this point. This event, Tokyo, is not about being Fnatic for any of these teams. It's about catching up. Just playing on their level, really. Sans their game against Liquid in the EMEA Playoffs Grand Finals, no one has done that this year since Loud did. And Paper X is no different. They'll drop to losers, where they'll be faced with one hell of an opponent, Chinese Edward Gaming, which is a fun matchup because it's like looking their old selves in the mirror. Paper X a year ago is what Edward Gaming, love the name by the way, is right now. An undisciplined team that simply treats all competition as inferior and will not respect them and do unexpected things because damn it, they are better than you. They live and die by the blade. Oh, by the way, in the meantime, EG has obliterated Liquid and sent them to the upper bracket finals against Fnatic, which, by the way, is another expectation this team has subverted. Every game is one that they cannot overcome, and yet one that they do. Every time people will say, okay, but surely this is as far as you go. And now they find themselves with really just one final expectation to subvert. EG, you think you belong? Okay, go out and beat the best team in the world. Then we'll talk. Map 1 is all Fnatic. Lotus is one of Fnatic's better maps, and if that is the case, son, good luck. But however good Fnatic may be, best team in the world as they may, there is one map that Evil Geniuses has proven themselves as undoubtedly the best team in the world on. Fracture. Even back when they were perpetually really bad, Evil Geniuses were really good at Fracture. Their first win against Crew was secured on Fracture. The one map they took against Furia, Fracture. Dominant wins against Sentinels and MIBR, featured Fracture. Their 2-0 drubbing of C9 in the playoffs, Fracture. In the 3 matches this tournament where they have had the opportunity to play Fracture against DRX, Loud, and Liquid, mind you, all very solid teams, they have allowed an average of just 4.66 rounds per map. And as good as Fnatic is, EG is a fracture team. 13-9. David is one map off of slaying Goliath. As map 3 drags on, Fnatic is managing to hold on to the thinnest of leads. Down 11-9, EG manages to defuse the bomb with a fraction of a second remaining to pull it within one round. On the round that would tie the game, Fnatic dominates to pull it to match point. In round 23, with Fnatic boasting a man advantage deep into the round, Demon1 does this. I'm having deja vu, man. It's even in the same exact location as his last crazy clutch. EG need one more round to send this baby to overtime. Ethan gets an opening kill, then Ethan gets the next. It's a 5v3. Boostio is unable to get a kill that would almost assuredly win EG the round, and then Calm goes down. Shit. Demon1 falls. Shit. Jogamo reels us back into a 2v2. The clock is ticking. A perfectly placed Jogamo nade stalls the plant. Fnatic need to plant this. Here. I need to slow this down because it's all just way too insane. There are 8 seconds on the clock. It takes exactly 4 seconds to plant the bomb. Fnatic need to plant the bomb before the clock ticks to 0 or they lose the round, meaning they need to start planting by the 4-second mark at the latest if they are to win this round. Ethan has an angle on Boaster's walk to where he needs to get to plant the bomb, and Boaster does not have enough time to both kill Ethan and plant the bomb, nor is Leo in a position to assist his teammate. If Ethan kills Boaster, it's over. If Ethan can stall Boaster to prevent the plant for another 3 seconds, it's over. Boaster smokes the angle so he can get into position to plant, but runs into positioning before the smoke can settle, giving Ethan a small window that he is unable to take advantage of. At just shy of 7 seconds, Boaster begins his plant. Jogamo is still on the rafters at this point, trying to fight Leo and deny him from killing Ethan, who all of EG's hopes and dreams now lie in, but he is killed trying to do so. But that smoke Boaster put up, the one he needed to place in order to have a chance at planting, allows Ethan to scale right up to where Boaster is. If Ethan can kill Boaster here to deny the plant and live the remaining time on the clock, EG will send this game into overtime. Leo desperately spams bullets into the smoke. They know what Ethan is doing, but if they stop this plant, they assuredly lose. The plant meter ticks closer to completion. Ethan rushes to kill Boaster, who is fractions of a second away from his plant, and by God, he does! With the meter this close to completion, by my count, less than 1/10 of a second. With just 2 seconds left, if Ethan is able to live, of which Leo has no sightline on him, EG will win. Ethan desperately tries to escape, undergoing hellfire to achieve, but with a mere second sitting between EG and overtime, that second proves to be one too many. And Leo picks up the kill through the smoke at the buzzer in a whirlwind of emotion to send EG down to the lower bracket. Ethan can't believe it. The Evil Geniuses faithful can't believe it, but as destroyed as they may be, Evil Geniuses has pushed Fnatic to the brink. This one will sting, but it will sting much less if they can come back through lowers and still win the damn thing. Sorry, I kind of lost myself in that last game. We need to check in on Paper X here. Map 1 against EDG proves just how neutered this PRX team is. EDG is good, but normally I highly doubt Paper X would have a problem with them. Again, don't think too many people would be disappointed with PRX's performance if they lost here, and as Map 1 drags on, everything is in place for just that to happen. It's an 11-4 pit, almost insurmountable. Almost. And Paper X drags it back. They drop Map 2, but end up victorious. Paper X is without arguably their best player playing a streamer and has secured a top 4 finish at this event. Next round, they'll get NRG. Map 1 is Pearl. Now, are you ready for possibly one of the silliest statistics you've ever heard in regards to Valorant Pro Play? Pearl, as a map, has been out for an entire year at this point, almost to the day. Since then, this is the third international competition, champions the previous year, then lock in this one, and to this point, America's teams have never lost on Pearl. They have only lost to each other. When playing against competition outside of the Americas, they have a perfect record. By my count, an astonishing 17-0. So look, Paper X probably won't win this map, but if they can put up a fight as a neutered team against a very good NRG team on a map that America teams have never lost on, it would spell very good things for them in the final two maps. Should they get there, of course. And fight, they do. The two teams trade round after round until a Divide 4 piece puts both teams into overtime. Round 1 of OT goes Paper Rex's way after Forsaken is able to scale up onto FNS without him noticing, giving the early advantage. NRG holds strong in the following round, 13-13. Round 27 plays out so peculiarly. Cigarettes manages to sneak himself up behind NRG, and Crashies and Sam manage to sneak up behind Paper X. At the last moment, Jing feels something is up and looks back at his flank and is able to kill Crashies before he gets any value, while Cigarettes gets both of his kills. Jing, having killed Crashies, assumes, yeah, I just killed the flanker, and turns back around before Sam kills him and Devi, and as Forsaken runs away with the spike, desperately fleeing, Sam kills him as well. With time as low as it is, Cigarettes needs to effectively run at Sam. There is no time to plant the bomb. All Sam needs to do is live the next few seconds. He has a shotgun, and Cigarettes is going to run right into his arms. And well, he does, and somehow gets the kill with less than a second remaining to give PRX the advantage. Look, I've knocked on Cigarettes plenty, and some of it is warranted. But in this moment, he, and only him, have won Paper X this round. It's soul-crushing for NRG. The final round is not close. Paper X become, in this instant, the first international team to beat an America's team on Pearl. 17-1. As tough of a map loss as this is, NRG bounced back and immediately snagged Map 2 with little resistance. Map 3 is close, but Paper X are able to ride out a strong second half to secure a late lead, which they are able to parlay into yet another unlikely victory and a berth in the lower bracket finals against, well, guess who? When I first had the idea to make this video, this was one of the first moments that came to mind as ones I was excited to cover. But now that we're here, the story really doesn't feel real. Like, these are Tokyo's two most unlikely semifinalists. I could say it over and over and over again, but this Evil Geniuses team, these Paper X dogs, these teams aren't coming for the top anymore. They have arrived. Map 1 is Fracture. As we have already established, EG don't lose Fracture. They didn't to Fnatic, and they don't here. 1-0. Map 2 is tight down the stretch, and with a 12-10 lead, Paper X goes up 5-3, and then EG surgically manages to pick up every single kill and get it to 12-11. Despite losing the opening pick on the next round, EG once again settles in and gets us to OT. But nobody, and I mean nobody, denies Jing what he is due. I've talked plenty about Something today, but Jing was the something before Something, if that makes any sense. And in Something's absence, Jing is absolutely inevitable. In our 2 rounds of overtime, and there will be just 2, Jing collects 7 kills, and by his will, we will go into Map 3 all square. Map 3 sees EG get out to a nice, comfortable first half lead, and then sees them squander it completely. Paper X is up 2-1, and against every single conceivable notion and trend that we have ever seen, Paper Rex is one map away from playing in the grand finals against Fnatic for a chance to win this whole thing with a substitute player. Paper Rex is playing without their LeBron, and yet they are here, one away. But if there's something Paper Rex has always been, it's one away. In 2022, at Masters 1, a miracle run by Japanese Zeta Division put Paper Rex's title hopes in their inaugural Masters run to rest, one game away from the lower bracket finals with the opportunity to prove that they belonged amongst the best against the legendary Optic Gaming Corps that would go on to win the tournament. At Masters 2, Paper Rex would get that chance and beat that same Optic team to send them to their first ever Grand Finals, one win away from the history books as the first Asian Pacific team to ever hoist a Masters or Champions trophy in professional Valorant. They would fall in the finals 3-2 to FPX, one map away. And here they were again, one map away from the Grand Finals. And that, dear viewer, is once again as close as they will get. Jing's nuclear performance on map 2 is somehow outshined by Demon1 on our final map, almost as if to say, man, I bet you guys wish you had your all-star Jet player right now, as Demon1 posts a 355 ACS, proving to be the third best performance at this entire event. Evil Geniuses are going to the Grand Finals, and Paper Rex is still heading to Champions, but once again, one short. I know I've talked already about how unprecedented EG being here is, but I want to show you guys something that kind of helps put it into perspective. Evil Geniuses is, by most metrics, the worst team to ever make it to a major grand final. How they got here is beyond all reasoning. Here are the entire season win-loss records of every grand finals team in Valorant history. This Fnatic team is snuggled right in second with their 19-1 record, a win percentage of 95%. All of these undoubtedly very good teams. The worst team is the 2022 Optic Gaming squad at Masters Reykjavik, who still had a record of 11-5 and a win percentage of 68.75 leading up to their Masters victory. And here's EG, 12-9, barely floating above the 500 mark. Prior to their win against DRX in the group stage, they had a losing record this season, despite making the major and winning their first game there. All of this to say, look, they should be happy to be here. This season has already been a fairy tale for them, and they should probably treat it as such, because they simply aren't going to beat this Fnatic team. They are just so good. Like, yes, EG did put up a fight in their first meeting, but now, because the upper bracket finals gets to ban 2 maps instead of the traditional 1, Fnatic can avoid playing both the Fracture that EG are so dominant on and the Pearl that European teams just cannot beat American teams on. To crown this EG team as Masters victors after their insane run-up would have been a dream come true. A true storybook ending. But Fnatic is just better. It's gotta be devastating for EG. You do all that to lose that badly. Not only did you not win, the final team ahead of you proves you aren't particularly close. And that was you when you were hot. You now have to wait over a month where you will inevitably cool down before having to lace them up and do it again. And there will only be more competition, and they will all mostly be better, and none of them will ever underestimate you again. That's for sure. But it isn't for nothing, for both them and Paper Rex. People are taking notice of these teams, previously not thought to really contend for much of anything. Paper Rex came third without their guy, and EG was 1 game away. Leading up to Champions, the betting odds prove it. Yes, this championship is still Fnatic's to lose, but in second and third, we find Paper Rex and Evil Geniuses. These weren't fluke runs, and with the whole season behind us, we head to Champions 2023. Before we make it to Champions, a couple of notes. No, the Valorant season doesn't go from Major immediately to the championship. That would be weird. Well, it doesn't do that technically. Between Tokyo and Champions is the last chance qualifier that determines the final couple of squads that will have the opportunity to compete for a championship in Los Angeles, with those squads being Naviv and Giants and EMEA, Zeta Division from the Pacific, and Crew from Americas, with Crew, as everybody expected, winning every single game in LCQ on an insane tear after entering the tournament winless on their season. The teams that were at Tokyo again auto-qualify, so they skip straight from Tokyo to Los Angeles, as will we. Additionally, Something's visa has been approved. Every team at Champions will be at full strength, the best version of themselves. We have 16 teams at our event this year, with a very solid handful of legitimate contenders. Also, no one is getting special treatment at this event. Everyone is going to have to go through the group stage if they want to hoist the trophy at the end of this thing, and not every group is created equal. Let's take a peek here at who is in what group. Group A features our Paper X, who draws Crew in the opening round, probably the hottest team on the planet, opposite an Edward Gaming Giants game, who are both definitely solid squads. EDG, of course, coming off of a top 6 finish at Tokyo. Group B boasts Evil Geniuses and, not to be disrespectful here, truly not much past that. EG's shot to playoffs is widely considered to be the easiest. They'll play Chinese FPX, the third and final Chinese team to make it to Champions, Footballist, who are like, okay, but never beat teams better than them. They made an entire season out of beating up on the weaker teams of EMEA just to get mollywopped by Fnatic. And T1, who are okay. Very winnable for EG. Group C is home to our tournament favorite Fnatic, Pacific LCQ winner Zeta Division, Tokyo 4th place finisher and very solid NRG, and completely unknown Billy Gaming, who have come out of China as the apparent second best squad from their region behind EDG. Group D is easily the strongest group, or at least they would have been about 2 months prior to this event. Since Liquid got bounced after going 1-2 at Tokyo, Loud surprisingly got bounced in just 2 games at Tokyo, not winning a single one, and Na'Vi have just been super weird all year, finishing second in the EMEA regular season as the only perceived threat to Fnatic in that region, and then just throwing up underperformances like it was their God-given mission on this earth. And DRX, who at one point looked dominant in the Pacific League, before also getting bounced swiftly at Tokyo, featuring a brand new identity crisis. Get yours today by calling 1-800-DRX. Group A kicks off with Paper X pouring a cup of cold water on Crew, downing them in 13-7, 13-8 fashion. As we'll soon learn for sure, the teams that got here in LCQ had to play in it for a reason. The other LCQ team in this group goes down as well, facing Paper X up with Edward Gaming, a rematch of the lower bracket match we saw Paper X take, albeit tightly, in Tokyo. Edward Gaming has only gotten better since then, but Paper X is playing with their full roster. Not many teams can hang with this Paper X. Edward Gaming does not appear to be one of them. Map 1 is Paper X's no sweat, but Map 2 starts out very slowly for them, as they allow EDG to snag an 11-6 lead. But they crawl right on back, snagging 6 consecutive rounds to eventually lead them into overtime, where they inevitably win and advance to playoffs. Let's check in with EG's run. The only semi-interesting thing about either of the games EG would win en route to a playoff berth of their own would be Jogamo's 309 ACS performance in Map 2 of their map against Footballist. EG played against inferior competition, sure, but the thing about all 3 of these teams in their group is they had all undoubtedly proven they were a top 3 team in their region throughout the entire duration of the thing. Foot, T1, and FPX all were third-place finishers in their circuits. EG ended up third after playoffs, lest we forget they were 6th at their league season's end. This team, unable to as much finish in the top half of their league, have with gusto qualified for the playoff top 8 section of this tournament, alongside Paper X and these 6 other teams. For all the talk I've given, biased as I might be, that the Americas region was the best one, we enter the playoffs with 2 Americas teams, 2 EMEA teams, 2 Pacific teams, and 2 Chinese teams, which will, beginning in 2024, be our 4th league to join the Valorant circuit. One of these 8 teams will be crowned the 2023 Valorant champion. Though to be honest, this entire thing already feels like a foregone conclusion. Somebody needs to catch Fnatic. It is extremely hard to stay the best. Dynasties, empires, they will all eventually topple. When you are the benchmark for success, people will look up to you to copy, steal, whatever it may be, and someone will inevitably do it better than you. Fnatic will, at some point, cease to be the best Valorant team. It's the nature of time. But ever since the season got rolling in February, it has been abundantly clear. There's Fnatic, and then there's the rest of the pack. Champions is set to be the last feather in Fnatic's unfathomably dominant season. Should they win out, as every indicator says they will do, they will have finished their season 26-1, winners of both majors and world champions. This entire tournament would be blown wide open, and it would be anyone's game if only someone could do the unthinkable and slay the giant. 7 months ago, this Loud team sat 2 rounds away from completing a reverse sweep and downing this very Fnatic team to claim the season's first major in front of a passionate, Loud-friendly crowd in Sao Paulo, just for Fnatic to ice-cold bludgeon Loud round after round, reeling them in and defeating them in foreign territory. Loud have been wetting their mouths for another crack at Fnatic, and they got it, handing Fnatic just their 2nd loss on the entire season. Though Fnatic aren't yet eliminated, the upper bracket is now suddenly without its biggest contender. The door is open. Seize the day. With a newfound sense of urgency, and no longer having to worry about an impending match with Fnatic, PaperX trounces Footballist. Silently the most consistent player all year, Devi, posts a very impressive 320 ACS, 1.75 rating, and 100% kill assist percentage game in Map 2, completely drowning out any hopes Foot may have had. Evil Geniuses is not as lucky. It takes until round 8 for EG to take their first round of the playoffs. They do flip a switch and take 12 of the next 15 rounds, just for Edward Gaming to squeak out the final 2 rounds and take us into a Map 1 overtime. Despite what this EG team would have you believe the result of this overtime may have been, they dropped this one. Up-and-coming star Smoggy's 4K on the final round of overtime makes sure of it. Suddenly, our evil geniuses are 1 map away from losing and dropping to the lowers, just like Fnatic before them. Map 2 features an 8-4 EG advantage at the half that sees them only allow 1 round the whole second half on round 15, a 13-5 victory. Map 3 features an 8-4 EG advantage at the half that sees them only allow 1 round the whole second half on round 15, a 13-5 victory. 2-1. Evil Geniuses are moving on. Demon1 would not be denied, posting a 301 ACS on map. Oh, my bad, that was his average ACS across all 3 maps. Map 2 sees Demon1 post a 336 ACS and very notably go 5-0 in the first blood to death ratio, completely dominating the opening fights. Map 3 sees one of our rare 350 plus performances, with Demon1 having a plus 14, 25-11, and 361 ACS performance. One thing you can't track statistically is who wants it more. But Demon1's numbers give you an idea. He did. PaperX and Evil Geniuses, funnily enough, draw the teams the other once had extreme troubles with. EG got a crack at DRX already in Tokyo's group stage, a match that they won, but this is the first time PaperX and Loud have ever met. Ever. Considering these were two of the top 3 teams of 22, you'd have thought they would have crossed paths by now, but they haven't. We are in for a treat. Map 1 sees Loud get out to a 9-5 lead early into the second round, with just Something standing between them and a 10-5 lead. 4 versus 1. Something makes it 3. Something makes it 2. Something makes it 1. And Something makes it 0. Just Something was too much for Loud, apparently. And it kind of compounds. Despite their lead and continuously setting themselves up for easy round wins, they let Paper X back into this map. Take this round, round 18 for example. Loud have the bomb planted, everyone alive, a Viper ult up, and less alive super late in A main. They kind of allow themselves to all get pinned in their Viper's ult, but are still in overall solid positioning. With less where he is, most of Loud should be able to sit back deep in their Viper ult and force Paper X to push them, where Loud would be at a massive advantage. For context, Viper's ultimate shrouds vision for the opposing team, giving every fight in it a massive lean towards the Viper that uses it. Paper X, therefore, need to push through this door, which Les is in perfect positioning to deny. But Les figures that he can quick pick up a kill on Mindfreak by swinging him. Mindfreak hears him running and kills him. This blows up the entire fabric of the round, and Paper X is able to perfectly pinch Loud and squeak out the round. Loud hold on to their ever-shrinking lead, but with a 12-10 lead, Something secures 6 kills in the next 2 rounds to push us into overtime. Continuously, Something is able to pick up first bloods, and in our second OT, a Jing 3-piece secures the map for Paper X, 1 away from the upper bracket finals. But we've heard that before, and map 2 reaffirms why we've heard it so much. Now, I've mentioned it before, but over the course of this entire season, 5,650 individual maps will be played, 565 maps with 10 players in each one. That's too many to chart, so I'm just going to chart the very, very best 56 performances. Every single performance over 350 ACS this year, including some performances of very, very good players against very bad teams. The worst performances on this chart are very notably still in the top 0.98% of all performances of the entire year. Here is Demon1's performance in the previous round against EAG. Here is Forsaken's performance against T1 earlier this year, the 4th best of the season. And here is what Les will do, this map. 424 ACS, the 2nd best performance of the entire season. And Loud will win it, 13-2. It's happening again. Except this time, it doesn't. Paper X is able to win map 3 in 13-10 fashion, and they are going to the upper bracket finals to face... well, look at that. Evil Geniuses handled DRX with little trouble, and now they're here. A trip to the grand finals on the line. Let's go. Map 1 goes back and forth. Paper X is able to make it 10-10. EG wins the next couple to make it 12-10. Despite their poor buy, Paper X finds themselves in fantastic positioning to pull it within 1 round. All they need is for their star player, Something, to win a 1v1 versus Ethan. Something swings Ethan at a perfect time, where Ethan isn't even holding out his gun, but he can't connect, and his team falls to 0-1 in the series. Map 2 sees Evil Geniuses lead big early, putting 4 rounds between them and Paper X. After they win Pistol, they re-extend their lead to 4, a 9-5 advantage. But 9 is all they would get. Paper X suffocates EG for each and every of the next 8 rounds, and we are going to map 3 tied. Round 1, we instantly get a taste of how insane this game is going to be. Ethan and Demon1 are forced to run down Devi and Mindfreak, and after Demon1 and Devi get traded out, there is a combined 12 health left between Ethan and Mindfreak. A breeze could kill either of them, but before the win could pick up, Ethan collects the kill to put EG up 1-0. we have a rock fight on our hands. EG's 3-0 lead is turned to 3-3, but they'll be able to stabilize and regain the lead so long as they're able to kill Mindfreak here.
Ends up getting gunned down, but Mindfreak! 1, 2, 3! Shuts them down!
Momentum is a funny thing. PRX parlays that back-breaking round into a 6-3 lead. Demon1 decides 6 is enough for the half though, and gets 4 in round 10 to get EG's wheels turning, rounding out the half with a map-tying 3-round stretch. 6-6, and PaperX continues to leak. 7-6, 8-6, 9, 10, 11-6. EG is a 2v1 away from making it 12. But that one is Mindfreak.
30 seconds left.
In a 1v1. Demon1 putting on the clutch. Shots exchanged. Spike now. It's being committed to. Mindfreak, does he swing off this one? Yes, he does! He manages to get the catch with the Red Bull clutch from Mindfreak once more.
If anyone is not going to lose today, it's Mindfreak. One round later, he once again needs to find fire for his team, facing another clutch, and he does it again. Mindfreak's will is finally asserted, and PaperX begins to really chip at EG's lead. 11-9, 11-10, 11-11, and yet again, when the conclusion seems foregone, EG pulls out a round to pull it to 12. EG can catapult themselves to the grand finals with this one round. Enter Forsaken.
Something looking to play entry, the spam across, takes him low, finds one, gets a dig, and the transfer comes in! Forsaken!
Map 3. Evil Geniuses, PaperX. We are going to overtime. PaperX dominates the first round of OT. They again find themselves one away. It's a 2 versus 2, but Com and Giacomo couldn't be more ready. Second overtime. As round 27 drags on, PaperX gets the bomb down at the cost of losing man advantage. Fortunately though, they have Defy, so it really doesn't matter, and once again, PaperX leads. It's time for this day to be over. A victor must be declared. I know it, you know it. Both teams have fought so hard for this. They both deserve it. But at the end of the day, only one can win, and that winner will be the one who wants it most. And that person is Something. PaperX, the team from a supposedly lesser region, the team with an outdated play style, the team that could never get past DRX, molded by the fires of their criticisms, PaperX will be playing for a championship. Few saw them being here. How can you not only recreate your past season successes, but improve on them when everybody knows who you are, what you are? Simple answer: be better than your opponent. And PaperX was. EG's story, however, is far from over. They drop down to losers, and will have to face the winner of Loud and Fnatic. Look, it shouldn't be a surprise that they've clawed back to get here, but I don't know, man. I kinda had hoped that somebody would have knocked them off by now, so we didn't have to worry about them. Now they get a rematch with only the second team to beat them this season. And I don't envision Fnatic letting their season end by simply running into the same brick wall twice. And Fnatic runs into the same brick wall twice. The most dominant team, arguably in Valorant history, has been slain. Their killers? Loud. If you thought for a second this Loud team wouldn't storm back here to get one final crack at Evil Geniuses, you have lost it. This is their revenge tour. Once far and away the best team in Americas, this Loud team reigned over the region with an iron fist. There was a canyon between these two teams at a point in time. A team atop and a team at the base of the mountain. Here we sit at the Kia Forum, the site of the lower bracket final today and the site of the grand final tomorrow. To the north, we see the San Gabriel Mountains. This may be where we are today, but that is where Loud has been. And yet, Both teams are here. There is no superior. Loud's 13-0 Pearl is a distant memory, as is EG's 2-0 wipe of Loud at Tokyo. Everything is to gain, and everything is to lose. By now we're all familiar with the back and forth start, and that's what Map 1 treats us to. At the half, EG leads 7-5. EG wins Pistol in the round following, so 9-5. Loud wins one, then EG the next. Okay, EG 10-6. 2 for Loud, 1 for EG, 2 for Loud. We are at 11-10. Loud tries to search for anything EG will give them, but finds very little. This leaves Loud with very, very little time left. With 30 seconds left, it's a 3v3. Kawanzin connects with a shock dart to make it a slight Loud advantage, but EG has full sight control, so Loud need to redirect, but time is ticking. Demon1 knows that if he can slightly stall them, that'll put his team over the edge, but he doesn't suspect Les lurking like a madman with 18 seconds on the clock, leaving Ethan in a 1v3. Ethan pushes, gets his 1. He tosses his nade, Les has 1 health, and succumbs to it. He closes door. Kawanzin doesn't have the time to do this. His gun goes empty, but there's a fresh gun on the ground with just 9 bullets in his chamber, of which he uses 4 to break door, which is going to be very important in a second. Somehow, Kawanzin starts his plant with more than 4 seconds left, but he decides to fake it, gambling that Ethan will re-peek him. With less than a second left, Ethan peeks. At his range and at Ethan's health, he needs to either get a headshot or connect on all 4 of his bullets, and he connects on 3 of them. His gun goes dry, and EG push the map to map point. Loud are somehow able to force OT, but get smothered in both rounds of it, and Evil Geniuses are up 1-0. Map 2 starts out even, with us knotted at 2 early. Then, EG rips off 9 straight. And even though Loud do manage to take 2 early into the second half, it just does not matter. EG slams Loud, pushing it to 2-0, 1 map away from a rematch with Paper X. After getting run out of the stadium on Lotus, Loud now have to perform a reverse sweep of Evil Geniuses, with the entire LA pro-USA crowd and all the momentum in the world against them. They don't have another option. If they let 1 more map slip past them, their season is done. It would be so easy for them to lay down and accept that they are not the protagonists of this story, as EG's rematch with Paper X may at this point seem like fate. But fate is not yet written. And Loud, punch back. Ever since that fateful 0-13, EG have avoided playing Loud on Pearl as if their lives have depended on it. And in this match, Loud's Pearl bites them again to the tune of a 13-8 Loud victory. On map 4, which is split, Osbos asserts his will. 30 kills in 20 rounds, 378 ACS, which, by the way, is right here on that graph from earlier. Momentum is flipped on its head, and that 2-0 lead from before suddenly feels like a fleeting memory for EG. Since dropping their opening match to DRX, I think it would be fair to say that Loud have had as impressive a tournament as anyone. They are absolutely a contender to win this thing. Their sole playoff loss to Paper X in 3 maps actually featured them winning 6 more rounds than Paper X did. And that's all on top of beating reigning major champs Fnatic twice to get here. We may be viewing this story from the perspective of EG and Paper X, but Loud have their own story to write. They can't stay as relevant with 2 rookies. They can't compete in Americas with the North American powerhouses. They can't bounce back after going 0-2 in Tokyo. They can't possibly beat Fnatic once, let alone twice. But they have. This team has. Map 5 is bind. and what of these team stories will end here. The first couple rounds are as close as they come. Loud kills everyone round 1 with not enough time to defuse the bomb, then on a much worse buy kill 4 of EG on round 2. Round 3 puts Bustio in a 2 vs 1 with a worse gun and much less health, where he is able to strafe around behind 1, then confuse less with his rep through U-Haul to put EG up 3-0. On a 4th round with an inferior buy, Loud are still able to kill 3 and make the round interesting, despite EG pushing their lead to 4. Round 5, out of a Loud timeout, isn't close. EG go up 5 instantly. For EG, this couldn't be a better start. Loud do finally get on the board though, by virtue of an Ospas 4K, and then get the next behind Ospas getting 3 more. Ospas is single-handedly keeping his team in the game at this point, with his 14 kills being nearly 3 times what the second frag has. EG do manage to win 2 of the next 3 to push us to a 7-3 EG advantage, with Ospas up to 17 kills in just 10 rounds. More than ever, this Loud team is going to need Ospas's heroics, and a repeat of last map's successes, if they want to come back and win this map. We're going to come back and check on how many kills Ospas has for every round the rest of this game. Loud are able to get a couple rounds back towards the end of the half to make it 7-5, a very manageable deficit at the half thanks to a less 2v1 clutch on round 12. And these 2 rounds, Ospas collects 0 kills. Well, they won, and he was hot, so, I mean, sure. Loud opens the second half with a pistol win that sees them 1 round away from equalizing the score, but they don't. EG impressively wins the next round despite a massive economic disadvantage, and EG parlays that success into 2 more rounds, which push the score to 10-6 in their favor. Loud do then win 2 of the next 3, 11-8. Checking back in on Ospas since round 10, he still has 0 kills, 9 straight rounds without one. EG win round 20. It's 12-8. They are 1 round away from a trip back to the grand finals. They just need to extend the magic for 1 more round and they're there. Loud goes for a sight hit, and despite a Sadak teleport play killing 2, the 2 teams trade back and forth, putting Tuyis in a 1 vs 2 to keep Loud's season alive. The rookie has the weight of his entire season, his entire career to this point, on his shoulders. He manages to find Giacomo, 1v1. But even before Tuyas hits the teleporter to rotate back to B site, Ethan is already rotating. He predicts it. Evil Geniuses are heading to the grand finals, and Loud's season, Tuyas' season, end with his Molly out. Screams of elation ring out in Kia Forum. This Evil Geniuses team, the team full of unwanted talent, have experienced God's light. Potter, at one point under immense criticism for her team's performance, has led her squad to an appearance in the grand finals. And for the 3rd and final time, we will see these 2 squads face off. When I say final, this isn't just in the scope of this single season. This will undoubtedly be the last time these 2 exact same squads will ever clash, and the last game these 2 teams will play with their entire units. Before our upper bracket final, Jing mentioned to reporters that these last few games would be his last. As a resident of Singapore, he is required by law to commit 1 year of military service for his country, which he will do next year. Paper X will spend their entire 2024 campaign without one of their star players, and for all we know, 2024 and beyond. But even if Jing hypothetically returns to Paper X for 2025, these Evil Geniuses won't be there for them to face. After the season, despite their overperformances as seemingly afterthought players for an organization not deserving of the performances these players and this staff were able to amass, they will face an option. Take a pay cut to stay with the organization that gave them their first shot, or be released, but face a buyout that most organizations will not be willing to pay. It's a shitty thing to do to the people that put you back on the map. Salaries for the 2023 Valorant season were overinflated, which will cause a lot of salary cutback. But EG's contract language stipulates that the players will take a pay cut or the organization will essentially hold them hostage, barring another organization buying them out. As we come closer to the beginning of the 2024 season, some of EG's players will be lucky enough to escape the organization's clutches. Demon1 and Ethan will flee to NRG, while Boostio will find a home with 100 Thieves. Com will then also find an escape route to Leviathan. Left behind are Giacomo and Potter, both stuck with a decrepit shell of what Evil Geniuses was. And as the league organizer Riot is in charge of which teams are in the league, there is a very good chance that 2024 may be the last year with Evil Geniuses as an org in the league at all. But today, on this special championship Saturday, those issues seem so far away. None of the roster turmoil matters. The only thing that does is winning today. Tomorrow, that will all matter, don't get me wrong, but today it doesn't. Win and be etched into the history books, or lose and be forgotten. Evil Geniuses, Paper X, one final time. Evil Geniuses starts us off with 2-round wins before Paper X draws us back to 2-2, then a 3-2 lead. Evil Geniuses manage to win 2 of the next 3 to make it an even 4 before Paper X rack off the next 4 in a row. But if there's one thing we've learned over the course of this season, it's that no lead is safe. And of the next 11 rounds, Evil Geniuses are able to win 9 of them and take the first map. Map 2 starts off with a 4-0 lead for Paper X, before EG is able to almost equalize, going into the second half with a 7-5 deficit in favor of Paper X. EG win their pistol, setting up a tying round 14, but a Paper X anti-strat has all 5 of their players stacking together and putting EG in a massive hole, a 2 versus 4. In just a moment, their entire advantage is wiped clean. And then Ethan happens.
Ethan knows what's coming his way. 3 on the other side. First found. Second follow-up. Ethan holding them back. Oh, and a third! Recovering what looked like a lost round! What?
Paper X wins the next round, but EG wins the following 2 to take a 9-8 lead. And then, Paper X locks it in. They become the team they've proven they can be all year. They win 1, then another. They squash an EG save round despite starting it with a man advantage to make it 11. With the opportunity to make it 12, Something tanks a shock dart to the mouth and then steps in and kills Com to secure it. 12-9. Smelling a map 2 victory. Paper X get antsy and allow EG to take the next round, and then the following, which makes it 12-11. Staring down the barrel of overtime, a foe both of these teams have become quite familiar with, Something decides to... oh no, he's going to swing into this op sightline and get killed. It's going to snowball the round. But he kills everybody instead. 1, 2, 3. Ascent is put to sleep. 1-all. Map 3 takes us to Bind. In a battle of back and forth punches, we haven't yet seen a blow that really knocks one of our combatants off their feet. A real haymaker. The kind of thing that, after seeing it, makes you wince a little bit. Way back in May, EG delivered just that to a Cloud9 team expected to sleepwalk to Tokyo, and they never recovered from it. That C9 team got punched in the mouth on this very map to the tune of a 13-2 pounding, and it not only sent them to lowers, but took a bit of their soul with it. That C9 team didn't make an international event this year. They were one of the many casualties to a previously 0-9 crew team in LCQ. Evil Geniuses gave C9 the shovel that they buried themselves with, and that's exactly the type of knockout blow they need to land here. And it does. Evil Geniuses start out this map with a 7-1 lead, and sans a few pity rounds, Paper X can't recover. It's match, series, season point. One map stands between them and Valhalla. But I've said that before. You know how this goes. No lead is ever safe. Round 1 is put in the hands of Devi, who despite being pinched, manages to find just enough time and space to kill 2 to clutch the round for his team. After an easy second round, Bustio's 4 kills proved to be just enough to get EG a win in round 3, a round that should not have been as hard as it was. PaperX wins the next round to make it 3-1 and resets EG's economy as well, putting them at a massive disadvantage. Bustio is able to secure a gun with his sheriff kill, but something kills 2 and the advantage is PRX's once again. That is until Bustio kills literally everyone he could possibly kill. They all just walk into his crosshair. He can't believe it. EG steal 1 and then 1 is stolen right back. Again, it's a rock fight. At the half, PRX clings to a 7-5 advantage, but EG quickly erases that advantage, making it 7-7. It's getting down the home stretch of this game, and the dusk of the season is upon us. You and I can only imagine how it must feel to be on the precipice of victory, and yet begin to feel like the walls are closing in, which PaperX are assuredly feeling right now. Everything you fought for has seen you mere inches from the peak, and yet now, everything seems so far. Every subsequent punch EG throws must feel twice as heavy as the last. They can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The wind is behind them. It's a downhill run. But despite how close that peak may be, this stretch has never been steeper. 8-7, Evil Geniuses. 9-7, Evil Geniuses. Stars burn the hottest when they're about to go out. And despite their beginnings, these PaperX players have made stars out of themselves and their organization. They just need a little more fuel. They just need to make it to the next map. Pearl awaits them, what was map 3 of these teams' upper bracket final, a map that PaperX won. These stars need just a little more fuel. So they burn. 9-8. 9-9. Evil Geniuses sit rounds away. They cannot allow PaperX to steal this momentum. They are this close from a world championship. This squad, these men. And PaperX, as hot and bright as they may burn, as they have now and throughout this season, go dark. Evil Geniuses sit atop the field. They alone are the 2023 Valorant World Champions. In this moment, we experience the highest elation of victory and the lowest agonies of defeat. From 1-4, the 0-13, a completely discouraged squad managed to pull themselves into a 4-5 finish, coming from a shadow where no god could see them, to experiencing his grace for the first time by virtue of an MIBR miracle, to winning the championship. Whether or not there has been a higher high is hard to say. No one believed in this team, but no one needed to. They're here all the same. That free agent they picked up and didn't play until a few games in, he's your MVP. Not only proving to be one of the best, at this tournament he was the best. First in rating, KD, kills per round, headshot percentage, with other stats also reaching into the top 5. Potter, staring down the barrel of potentially being fired, ended up winning Coach of the Year in Americas. But as there is with every story, there's always another side. PaperX fought, and they fought hard. They weren't expected to be here, and some had predicted them to miss the playoffs entirely. It wasn't for nothing. They not only took the style everyone had criticized and shoved it right down everyone's gullet, but they continuously proved to us that this organization, these players, are not to be underestimated. Despite Something's middling champ's performance, he still busted onto the scene and took it hostage, scoring the Pacific League MVP in the process. You can't deny this whole thing hurts though, for him and PaperX, who once again found themselves just one win away. Hey guys, my name is Avery Meisty, also known as Galaxy. I am the creator, editor, producer of this video, and it took me a long time. I believe I had the idea to start making this video right around when the grand finals happened, which I believe was in August, and now to the release. It's been a long process. This entire journey, the entire video was incredibly difficult, but again, completely a passion project, and one that I am receiving no funds for. There are no sponsorships in this video, as you could probably tell, and it's been a time sink. It really has. So any donations would be thoroughly appreciated. I will link my Venmo right here. If you would like to follow me on Twitter or anything like that, you can do so right there. And all is appreciated. And again, thank you so much for watching this video. It means the most to me. And you know, hopefully if this continues to grow in popularity, I can maybe look to do more projects like this one. But again, thank you so much, and see you next time.